Hi, as some of you may know, yesterday, October 10th, was World Mental Health Day. And unfortunately, I missed making a video and talking about it yesterday because yesterday was just a little too busy for me, so I thought I would do it today. And I thought, what better time than to go into a little bit deeper, as deep as I can, about where I was at last year, because I was at a very low point where I know some people in my life knew about, but I don't think others did. And I wanted to talk about that because as somebody with Tourette syndrome, I also deal with anxiety, OCD, and a long list of other comorbidities, but anxiety and OCD are my top contributing factors to my Tourette syndrome. Some days those bother me more than my tics. Some days my tics bother me more. Some days they are all working together to create the perfect storm against me. And I think a lot of people, that don't necessarily understand Tourette syndrome, sometimes they, unfortunately, they see the joke on TV, they see the jokes, or they just see these little movements that I do in these videos sometimes, and they think that, oh, well, that can't really be that bad. And they don't think about how dealing with that day after day, minute after minute, hour after hour, not having control over your body day in and day out, how that can affect you mentally, physically, and emotionally, and how it can play into mental health as well. Tourette syndrome is not a mental health disorder, but it does and can affect mental health for a lot of people with it. I want to also point out that what I'm talking about here is my lived experience. I'm not saying that this is a lived experience for every single person with Tourette syndrome, even though a lot of us do live with comorbidities and go through mental health struggles. But this is my experience, my lived experience, and somebody else's might be different, which is another reason as to why you should check out a lot more Tourette syndrome advocates and mental health advocates and disabled advocates out there online. So this time last year, I was ticking more than I ever have in my adult life. I was having tic attacks, multiple of them. I was having multiple tic attacks throughout the week, which has never really happened to me. I have tic attacks, but I don't necessarily have that many times in 1 week. I was having like 3 to 4 of them in 1 week. I was in a very toxic situation, which I can speak about briefly. I can't go into a lot of detail about it, but I was being treated very poorly, which was contributing to my anxiety and my compulsions and my Tourette syndrome. Like I said earlier, they can all work together. And when one certain emotion is heightened for me personally, that is when my tics get worse, or sometimes my compulsions can get worse. It depends on what those feelings are, or it just can kind of depend on the day. But I was crying almost every single day. I was barely eating because every single time I ate, my stomach hurt and I felt sick to my stomach. I was barely sleeping and I could barely drive my vehicle. Now, some people with Tourette syndrome can't drive at all. A lot of us can, but there are certain days, I've talked about it in shorter videos before, where there are some days where driving is just not an option for me. I don't feel comfortable being in the car, and I make that decision for myself because I want to be safe and I want everybody else to be safe too. And I was at a point where driving even just a few minutes up the road felt dangerous to me. So I was getting some of these choices in my life, they were being taken from me. My independence was being taken from me. I kind of felt like a child a little bit. I felt like a burden to every single person around me, and especially my husband. He never made me feel that way. I want to make that perfectly clear. He is wonderful and amazing and incredible, and he is one of the sole reasons that I got through everything that I went through last year, because of his support and his selflessness and just love for me and just in general. But I felt like more of a burden than I ever have. I felt like I was taking things away from people because he had to drive me everywhere. I was calling him, basically hyperventilating, crying, and my mom and my parents too. And my mom and my husband, I don't know how many phone calls they received from me crying because my tics were just so bad and I was being treated so poorly. I was being made to feel like a burden. I was told that I had to shove down what I was going through, shove my tics down and rise above them from people that I thought cared about me, or at least were supposed to pretend to care about me, because I was bringing the morale of every single person around me down. Those are exact words that were said to me. And that was after I was already going through a lot, and I was already being made to feel like my life didn't really matter to certain people. And that felt awful. It added into everything that I was going through. I I was not okay. And it was the most not okay that I have ever been in my life. And when I look back, and I made a video at one point where I kind of explained it a little bit because I was so tired. I felt I had pressure radiating throughout my entire body because of my tics being so bad. I had really bad back tics. I was about to go to the acupuncturist or somebody to get rid of the pain that I was going through. And when I look back and I watched that video because it popped up for me the other day, I don't recognize that person. I remember one evening I sat on the couch talking to my husband, and I started crying and telling him that I wished that I was somebody else. And I wish, because of my tics were so bad, because of what I was feeling at that time. I have never said that about myself. Never. I have never wished to be somebody else. I have never hated my body and me, kind of, more than I did at that moment. And when I look back and I see that, or I think about it, my heart breaks all over again for the me of last year. And yeah, sometimes I was able to put that smile on, I was able to pretend, but not a lot. And also it just goes to show that not everybody realized just how much I was going through. Yeah, maybe they realized to the point where I was told that I needed to stop bringing morale down, but even though I just kind of stuck to myself, they didn't realize what was going on behind the scenes, how my life felt like it was in danger, and they didn't see everything that it was taking from me. And that's the thing, is that people don't realize that mental health is so strong that you don't always realize what a person is going through, what complete toll that it is taking on them. Not eating and not sleeping at home. People don't know that I'm not sleeping unless I talk about being tired or talk about it, or they might have seen the bags under my eyes, I suppose, but it was in a really bad place. And then when I started talking, I actually also left my job on disability leave because it was so bad. And that was a huge pride thing for me. That was a struggle for me. I felt weak. I felt vulnerable. I felt just miserable. And making that decision was an incredibly hard one for me. And although I talked to my husband, I talked to my parents, I talked to my friends about it, once I did it, it was the right decision. I felt the weight, a big weight lifted. But the fact that I got that bad to where I had to step away because of that was really difficult for me. And when I went to my doctor to talk about this, because, you know, I had to talk to him about the leave, he urged me once again to go see a therapist and get on anxiety medication. Now, anxiety medication is something that I have talked about with my doctor many times before, but I never wanted to be on medicine. Similarly to my Tourette medication journey, which I'm not on any medicine for my Tourette's now, but I was in the past, it was very hard for me. I have no judgment for anybody else. I support it. I think it's a strong step when it's somebody else. But, you know, it's always that internal ableism, that internal critic, that I am the worst judge of myself. I felt badly that I had to turn to this, even though if any of my other friends came to me and said I got on medication because I needed the help, I'd be like, good for you. And I would mean wholeheartedly. I would support them and I would cheer them on for doing it. But then when it came to me, for whatever reason, I was like, why are you doing this? Why aren't you strong enough for this? Why can't you just push through? Why can't you find your way through this? And it was really, really hard internally for me. But I got on that medicine. I started seeing a therapist. I started writing, just to like journal write again at my therapist's discretion, because she really listened to me when I told her that writing was the best way for me to get my feelings out. And obviously I worked on myself a lot. I left certain toxic situations where people were making me feel like my life and I didn't matter, and that my disability was a burden for them, even though it was way worse for me. And I'm so happy to know that a year later, I'm still on my medication. I'm still writing every once in a while. I need to get back on to my therapist's office, if I'm being completely honest. I got a new insurance, so I have to find a new therapist office, unfortunately. But I'm in a whole better place. I am working at my dream job for the Tourette Association. I am helping people like me every single day, and it feels incredible. And I just started betting on myself and taking risks for myself and believing that better things, or believing that I was worth more. Now, that was with the help of therapy, with the help of my medication. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because you don't know how deep it goes for people. And for me, I never thought that I would get to that low of a place, because I've always been a pretty positive person when it comes to all of this stuff with me, my Tourette syndrome and all of those things. Don't get me wrong, there's bad days where the tears have always happened, but I think the wake-up call for me was at one point my dad called me after I had called my mom because I was having a panic attack at work, like legitimate panic attack, not even just a tick attack, panic attack. And I heard my dad say on the phone, like, I don't know why it still makes me emotional, but he just told me, he's like, I need you to promise me that you're okay, that you're going to be okay, because I'm really worried about you. And my dad is not a vocal emotion person either. He'll write you something and it'll be like the most beautiful thing you'll ever read, but hearing him say that and hearing his words, hearing him call me to say that really is what shook me and what made me realize, like, I need to do something. Because it also got to the point where my husband would leave for work and tell me, like, I need you to promise that you're gonna at least try to eat today. I need you to tell me when you're there. I need you to please eat food. And consistently asking what he needed to do. He was ready to, like, do whatever it took to get me better. And those were wake-up calls for me. And not everybody has that. So when you have those people in your life, you need to reach out to them. You need to tell them that you're there, that you need, not necessarily that you understand completely, because you might not. And my support system is what got me through that. And I am so thankful. So if any of you are still watching, my support system watching, thank you, because you have no idea what your love and your support did for me and how much you helped me through one of the hardest moments and times and months and years, honestly, year of my life. And I feel silly saying it because it wasn't like anything super big and traumatic happened, but you know, it doesn't have to be always super traumatic it doesn't have to be catastrophic like somebody else's for it to matter to me. And I have to remind myself of that. But yeah, like I said, talk to your people, reach out to your people, be there for them, even if it's just a hello, hey, do you want to catch up? Do you want to talk? And just listen. Even if there's nothing for you to say, like saying, I don't know what to say, but I'm here. You can talk to me anytime. You can cry to me anytime, because I needed to get those emotions out and I needed to get those pushes from people to start to get what I needed at that time. So yeah, I know this was a really long video and it kind of was rambling, but I really wanted to share that story. I've been wanting to make this video for a while, especially now that I'm in a much better place mentally and physically, because I'm very proud of myself for that. I worked very, very hard. And if anybody out there is struggling, just know that so much can change in a year. So much can change in a matter of days, weeks, months. And I am here, and reach out to your support systems. I know the burden feeling is very strong. I felt it. I still feel it from time to time. But it's better to chance being a burden, even though you are not. Your disability and your mental health does not make you a burden. Reach out to your people and do what you need to do to get help so that you can be in a better place a year from now. So yeah, that was my story. And I hope you guys listened and kind of enjoyed it.